What's it going to be then, eh? There was me, that's Alex, and my three droogs, that's Pete, Georgie and Dim. Dim being really dim, and we sat in the Karova milk bar, making up a residox what to do with the evening. A flip, dark, chill winter bastard, though dry. The Karova milk bar was a milk plus miesta, and you may, oh my brothers, have forgotten what these miestas were like. Things changing so scurry these days, and everybody very quick to forget. Newspapers not being read much neither. Well, what they sold there was milk plus something else. They had no license for selling liquor, but there was no law yet against prodding some of the new fiestas which they used to put into the old Malacca. So you could peat it with Velociet, or Sintermesh, or Drenkram, or one or two other fiestas, which could give you a nice, quiet horror show 15 minutes admiring Bog and all his holy angels and saints in your left shoe, with lights bursting out all over your mask. Or you could peat milk with knives in it, as we used to say, and this would sharpen you up and make you ready for a bit of dirty 20 to 1. And that was what we were peating this evening I'm starting off the story with. Our pockets were full of dang, so there was no real need from the point of view of casting any more pretty Polly to tolchok some old Viekin and Ellie, and Vidium swim in his blood while we counted the takings and divided by 4, nor to do the ultra-violent on some shivering starry grey-haired ptitsa in a shop and go smacking off with the till's guts. But as they say, money isn't everything. The 4 of us were dressed in the height of fashion, which in those days was a pair of black very tight tights with the old jelly mould, as we called it, fitting on the crotch underneath the tights. This being to protect, and also sort of a design you could viddy clear enough in a certain light, so that I had one in the shape of a spider. Pete had a ruka, a hand that is. Georgie had a very fancy one of a flower, and poor old Dim had a very hound and horny one, of a clown's lidsa, face that is. Dim not ever having much of an idea of things and being all shadow of a doubting Thomas, the dimmest of we 4. Then we wore wasty jackets without lapels, but with these very big build-up shoulders, pliechas we called them, which were kind of a mockery of having real shoulders like that. Then, my brothers, we had these off-white cravats, which looked like whipped-up kartoffel or spud, with sort of a design made on it with a fork. We wore our hair not too long, and we had flip horror show boots for kicking. What's it gonna be then, eh? There were 3 dievochkas sitting at the counter all together, but there were 4 of us malchiks, and it was usually like 1 for all and all for 1. The sharps were dressed in the height of fashion too, with purple and green and orange wigs on their gullivers, each one costing less than 3 or 4 weeks of those sharps' wages, I should reckon, and make-up to match. Rainbows round the glasses, that is, and their road painted very wide. Then they had long black very straight dresses, and on the groody part of them they had little badges of silver with different malchiks' names on them, like Joe and Mike and such like. They were supposed to be the names of all the different malchiks they'd spattered with before they were 14. They kept looking our way, and I nearly felt like saying the 3 of us, out of the corner of my rod that is, should go up for a bit of Paul and leave poor old Dim behind, because it would just be a matter of cuppeting them half a litre of white, but this time with a dollop of Sintermask in it. But that wouldn't really have been like playing the game. Dim was very, very ugly, and like his name, but he was a horror show filthy fighter, and very handy with the boot. What's it going to be then, eh? The Chelaviek sitting next to me, there being this long big plushy seat that ran round 3 walls, was well away with his glasses glazed and sort of burbling slavers like Aristotle wishy-wash works ouching cyclamen got for ficulate smartish. He was in the land all right, well away in orbit. And I knew what it was like, having tried it like everybody else had done. But at this time I got to thinking it was a cowardly sort of a fiesh, oh my brothers. You'd lay there after you drunk the old Malacca, and then you got to messel that everything all around you was sort of in the past. You could video it all right, all of it very clear. Tables, stereo, lights, the shops and the mall chicks. But it was like some fiesh that used to be there, but was not there, not no more. And you were sort of hypnotized by your boot or shoe or a fingernail, as it might be. And at the same time, you sort of picked up by the old scruff and shook like you might be a cat. You got shook and shook until there was nothing left. You lost your name and your body and yourself, and you just didn't care. And you waited till your boot or your fingernail got yellow, and then yellower and yellower all the time. And then the lights started cracking like atomics, and the boot and fingernail, or as it might be a bit of dirt on your trouser bottom, turned into a big, big, big miesta, bigger than the whole world. And you were just going to get introduced to old Bog, or God, when it was all over. You came back to here, and were whimpering sort of, with your rod all squaring up for a boo-hoo-hoo. Now that's very nice, but very cowardly. You were not just put on this earth to get in touch with God. That sort of thing could sap all the strength and the goodness out of a Chalaviek. What's it gonna be then, eh? The stereo was on, and you got the idea that the singer's Golas was moving from one part of the bar to another, flying up to the ceiling and then swooping down again and whizzing from wall to wall. It was Bertie Lasky rasping a real starry oldie called You Blister Me Paint. One of the three titsers on the counter, the one with the green wig, kept pushing her belly out and pulling it in to what they called the music. I could feel the knives in the old Malacca starting to prick, and now I was ready for a bit of 20-1. So I yelped, out, 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 like a doggy, and then I cracked this Viek, who was sitting next to me, and well away, and burbling a horror show crack on the ucko, or ear hole, but he didn't feel it, and went on with his telephonic hardware, and when the farfukululu gets rub-a-dub-dub. He'd feel it all right when he came to, out of the land. We're out, said Georgie. Oh, just to keep walking, I said, and viddy what turns up. Oh, my little brothers.